Welcome to the 21st Century Film Club, and the first film today we'll be doing is Love Actually, inspired by the 20-year anniversary reunion on Good Morning America with Diane Sawyer. So, what did you think about the film?
It's one of my all-time favourite films. I watch it every year at Christmas. It makes me cry every year. It hasn't lost its touch over the years. There's definitely the good storylines, the bad storylines. But yeah, I just think it's the best Christmas film, and I don't think I could ever get bored of watching it year after year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really, really good. It's just so wholesome and so nice, and yeah, every year I always watch it. Obviously there's some bits I'm like, what? But like, love it.
I'm sorry everyone. It's okay. It's okay. It's a 6 out of 10 film that gets rated like an 8 out of 10 because of the cast. It's okay. It's got good vibes, but we'll get into it later. It's okay.
Interesting.
I class as like a British classic Christmas film. Like I can't go a Christmas without watching it. Like it's just got an amazing cast and like good storylines, and even just the start and end with the like airport scene that always gets me emotional.
Yeah, it's the first time I watched it, and I did enjoy it. I think it was really successful on two accounts. Firstly, it's got a star-studded cast, and it actually really works this time. It doesn't feel like we're watching a film with celebrity. Because other films have tried to emulate Love Actually's success. I think it was called New Year's, and it was terrible. So I think it has that to be proud of. And also the interweaving of all the stories at the end, especially the school play scene. I thought that was probably one of the best times I've ever seen a play or a book interweave scenes, and it's not too much. It's not like everyone's sat around talking with each other. It's just they all live in the same like bubble, the same like London street bubble. It's a nice fantasy that everyone would be going to the same kind of state-educated school.
It makes sense as well. I feel like some films where they try and like have different storylines running and then they try and like bring them together, it's just like this is so unrealistic. But I think because it's focusing on the community and like the street on which they all live, I think it works really well because there's reasons for them all to be there. It's not just like, and then some random person turned up to the school play. Like, I like the way it actually works and it actually makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I quite like the way it weaves with each other. I feel like it is connected quite well. I feel like everyone's watching me because I hate this film. I really like that part of it as well. And I thought the way we did it was quite smart, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
What is it that you dislike about the film then?
It's just a bit too cheesy. I know. Right. What I don't like about it, other people will enjoy. I feel like not all the stories quite worked. I feel like because you're doing so many stories, some of them are quite rushed. Whereas I'd rather they put more attention on other stories than others. The ones that did worked really, really well, like with Liam Neeson's character and the boy, I don't know his name, but that worked really well. The Colin Firth story obviously really well. Like that's what everyone's here for. And obviously the Hugh Grant story as well. And then there was like a big gap between the next best story, I guess.
Which one was the next best?
I guess for me personally, just the Martin Freeman, just because I like Martin Freeman in general. And then you have like a couple that don't work. I mean, the Alan Rickman story is obviously tragic, but that just shows that love is different for everyone, and love doesn't always work out, I guess. And this is a way of showing that, even though it is heartbreaking to see. And then obviously you've got the Andrew Lincoln Keira Knightley story, which is just like, I don't think you.
That's my least favourite one.
Yeah, I feel like if you did the film nowadays, that just wouldn't happen. That story.
Yeah.
It's very creepy, and then you got like the humour Colin story. Is that his name, Colin?
Yeah.
He goes to America, which is obviously just.
That's just funny. Yeah.
That's just funny. It's just the first the three stories good, and then other than that, it drops down in quality.
Yeah, if I was going to criticise the film, which I do hesitantly, that would be my criticism, is the storyline where it's Keira Knightley and I'm not sure who the other actor.
Andrew Lincoln.
Yeah, Andrew Lincoln, and with the signs, and I think it's a little bit creepy. Like, you know, when she goes to his and he's like, do you have any wedding videos? And it's just her face. I'd probably be like, okay, I'm gonna just back away now slowly. Like, I kind of get it was meant to be like unrequited love, and I like the fact obviously the film's trying to show all the different types of love, but I think if they just didn't really include that, it'd be like perfect. But I don't really mind. It's just that would be my main criticism.
I think the thing with the film is, I think if you go after filming, you have like a pause, and you think a lot of people in that film only love each other because of how they look. Because I don't think Keira and Andrew character really knew each other. Like, she had never really properly spoken to him. She thought he disliked her. So he probably just watches her, you know, like when he's with the best friend, you know, all the time. And I think the same with Colin Firth's character. He doesn't really know the housekeeper. That was my opinion. And the Portuguese woman. And I just felt, to me, if you took the film, if you just think about the film, I think it shows, I don't think it really showed any good examples of romantic love. That's quite a common criticism of the film, but I think it's very true. I think that the romantic love in that film, there's no great love stories there. There's no, like, Twilight. No, better
I
than
think
Twilight.
the Colin Firth one is, though, because I understand what you mean, because, like, they can't really communicate very well, so obviously it's not a deeper level as, like, you know, getting to know each other's soul. But I think it's so sweet the way they do it, where she's speaking, is it Portuguese? And he's speaking English, but they're saying the same thing, so they don't know each other. I just think it's
goes to try and learn the language.
Yeah, and I feel like it's showing that sometimes you just know. Like, even this is so cringy, but like that's what they're trying to get across. Like, you just know sometimes, and it's really sweet. And I really like that aspect of it, because I think obviously it is nice when you can communicate completely, and that is important for like actual.
I just think that left me dead.
Really?
down everywhere. That when I was just like, no, not buying it, not attractive. I just think everything about that just made me give me the ick. That whole plot line.
Oh my gosh!
So I was just like, by the end of it, I didn't want them to get together, and I didn't like it. I don't even know if it's due to ideology or if it's really just due to acting, and I kind of just, I didn't get the sense that Colin Firth really, like, because I think he's a brilliant actor. And I think this would probably have been, in my opinion, one of the low points of his career.
Really?
Like, post Pride and Prejudice, kind of before the King's Speech.
Yeah.
Kind of his career went in a bit of a...
Even worse than Bridget Jones, which wasn't bad, but
yeah,
similar
I think typecast, you know...
I mean, he just obviously plays similar roles.
He plays similar roles, but to me, Bridget Jones had a bit more of a funny, fleshed out character. I prefer Bridget Jones much to this. Better writing. I prefer the... kind of one continuous plot.
You're not alone.
I prefer the music. I prefer, like, we're saying with the other film, Your Christmas So Mine, that had more iconic music, you know, RSPCT and Bridget Jones, like all those scenes. And obviously Hugh Grant was in the film as well. Hugh Grant, I think this was Hugh Grant's film. I think this was his time to shine, and they wrote it with him in mind. If I had to say something about the film, it's similar to a Harry Enfield joke, a recent one, but it was like a virgin who wrote about sex and gender politics, and I definitely feel like it had very much like a teenage male adolescent vibe with the Keira Knightley story, with the Collins story to America, with a lot of the objectification of women, a lot of the cheating. It was kind of written, this is why I think it's kind of relatable, it's kind of written like it's from the viewpoint of someone of almost, you know, Liam Neeson's son. It's kind of his level. The whole film's at his level.
I think that's a bit far. He's like 12,
yeah, that's
isn't he?
his, no, but like 12, 15, that type of coming of age, where it's just like everything is women are these foreign objects.
I think you have to remember it's also, like, not defending that at all, but obviously it is a child of its time as well.
Yes,
it's 20 years old. Like, unfortunately, that sort of thing was fine back in the day, and like, you know, obviously times have changed, even if we don't really realise it, and like certain things like objectification and like how, the guy who's videoing Keira Knightley's face is like in love with her, probably these days would be a bit strange. But I think you also have to just have in mind that is what it was like back then, and like obviously it's not great.
I'm just saying, I think there's, to stereotype here myself, there's different types of guys, and there's men who know women and know how to flirt with women and know how to hit on women, and then there's men who write love, actually, you know, and that's kind of their viewpoint, is the Andrew Lincoln character. It's kind of written for those type of guys, like Colin, like the Collins in the world, who are maybe awkward with British women, because he said all British women are stuck up, in his opinion, which was a flippant remark, and then he goes to America and he's proved right. So to me, the film is kind of, that's kind of it. As well as it being aimed at women, the film, because it's a traditional rom-com, it's also aimed at men who are unsuccessful with love and believe in grand gestures.
But I don't think it was that serious.
That's like, to me,
I don't think it's that deep. I feel like they made the joke like with Colin being
Yeah,
like,
I know.
oh, all women in England stuck up because he's obviously like one of
It
those
is a joke,
guys
I
who
did,
isn't
yeah.
isn't
But I
doing
think
very
the film's written
well.
for them.
But
for those
I
guys.
don't agree. I think in a way, like it's written for lots of different people. Because as a woman, I found that very funny. Because I'm sure there's lots of men in the UK who aren't like doing particularly well, and they're like, oh, it's just the women. You're like, for goodness sake, like, you know. And like it was written in a way, and I was like, yeah, that's probably. It's just funny, I think.
And I think this is a film celebrating the clueless romantic guy. That's why, in the end, the young son, the young boy, gets with the kind of the pop star. You know, so and there's nothing wrong with that, and I think it's good to have films for those type of people. But I think if you are the type of person who is maybe like more of a, I just think it just shows that women and men there's lots of ways women and men view relationships and love and sex. It's not just like the old traditional Hollywood way of alpha male, you know, like perfect women. There's nerdy guys who are, yeah.
That's why I liked it.
Yeah.
I kind of liked how the boy and Liam Neeson's character was trying to teach him about love, and the way that like he was trying to tell him about how love is and how it's not perfect, I guess, and how like you've got to like act and yeah, I kind of and like you said, those characters felt real. Like the boy and the stepdad, those characters felt real, and yeah, I really connected with those. Not like they have a personal connection to me, but just those characters felt really real, and just those, I had connected with those more than others, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, like, and very well done. The fact that we can connect to the characters we have nothing in relation to.
Absolutely.
Like, I can't relate to basically any of the characters, and I was still like had an emotional investment in almost every single one of the stories, and that's why I think I like it.
No, I actually do really like the film. I just think it's I think as like a piece of commentary it's just that type of romantic love, and I think it was the person I was watching it to really believed in kind of the great gestures and grand gestures of love. And I think to me it's just a big part of a big cultural message we send, not just girls. We focus a lot on how we send cultural messages to women about love, but to men I think there is sometimes like an entitlement that women have to like them and other type of things, and this film maybe just feeds into that culture of people like Colin expecting.
I agree with that, because like all the men in this film kind of like they didn't like they weren't really challenged. They were just kind of expected.
I don't know. Colin Firth's character got cheated on in the first bit. Emma Thompson's character got cheated on, and she was like not sure whether she was going to go back with him and stuff. I think some of the female characters are very strong. I think Keira Knightley's character obviously rejected the guy. Like, obviously she gave him like a little kiss, whatever, a bit weird, but fine. But like she, you know, the guy's love was unrequited for her, and like I think there was a lot of times where there was struggle for the men. I think obviously it all ended up nicely for all of them, but that's because it's a Christmas film, and they're not. Other than obviously we don't really know what happened with the Alan Rickman character, but they're not going to be like, and then he was depressed because he was sick. You know what I mean? It's like you have to also bear in mind it's a Christmas film.
A film made 10 years later would really savage Andrew Lincoln's character and Alec Rickman's character. However, this film lets us kind of see both sides of the story, and it's sympathetic to, but it is even sympathetic to Alan Rickman, and that's why he cheated on it. It's very much from that point of view. She really pursued him, the assistant, which is true. That can happen in real life. But I think a lot of men in real life would use that as an excuse to cheat.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and obviously that's not okay. But I think it's good because they're putting it from a completely neutral humanitarian perspective. It's like they're not saying this person did this, let's all hate them, or this person responded this way, let's all hate them. They're just showing you how it is, and then the audience is supposed to respond however they want to respond. And I really like that, and I think that's kind of how life is.
What I found very interesting with the film was it had a lot of people of colour in the film, and one of the people of colour was the Prime Minister's I think like head chief of staff, quite high up, and she was saying about Natalie, she was like, oh, chubby, and like huge ass, big thighs, and like in front of a Prime Minister, which is very inappropriate, like for any decade or era. That wouldn't have happened, you know, for a chief of staff to break decorum like that. But to me it was an interesting film in that it kind of showed a shift 10 years before that film, you never would have had a black character, A, be chief of staff, but B, be saying something very bitchy and catty about a white working class character like Natalie, who was, it was very, very interesting that they showed Natalie's home life at the end, and, you know, like all her family. I know it's Christmas, but it wasn't the biggest house. Very traditional working class Londoners. What do you think about the weight or the kind of the fat kind of? Because I noticed quite a lot of.
It was quite harsh, but I obviously it's like of its time. So
Yeah.
I don't think obviously that would happen nowadays, but it was just like, all right, okay, this is a bit harsh. I mean,
The way like Natalie was treated by, even at the end when she comes like and meets him in the airport and he picks her up, he's like, "Oh, you're heavy." Like, it says something like that. It's like a constant thing throughout, which is obviously like ridiculous when you look at her in the first place. And also when Colin Firth goes to Portugal to find Aurelia and then sees his sister, and then the dad says something about like her being fat or something. I wouldn't want to. Colin wouldn't be going there to see her. It's like quite a constant thing, which kind of feels like unnecessary, I guess, in some ways. Like, it doesn't really add anything to the plot besides the fact that Hugh Grant's a amazing man for looking past her weight, I guess. But
I think that's like one of my main criticisms as well. It does glorify people for not not caring about weight. She's not big, but even if she was, like, that's not really very, I think that was, for me, like, I thought the film was very humorous, very funny, like, but that was like a really low point of comedy. I've never, like, I think a lot of people don't find that sort of thing funny. It's not really funny. And yeah, that was one of my main criticisms.
To me, it undermined the whole story of Colin Firth, that they had a love. Because it can't, to me, that in my head I was like, so if you met the sister as a gameskeeper, they just never would have fallen in love then. That's the end. That's the end of the film. Go home, guys. Film's over. You have to look hot at every moment to make sure.
Yeah.
And there's different versions of attract. I think it would have been nice to say there are, just because the black posh chief of staff doesn't think that Natalie's attractive, doesn't mean she's unattractive. She just has a different taste.
Yeah,
you know, like if she is like, I don't find her hot. Well, Hugh Grant finds her hot. That's all that matters. You know what I mean? She finds herself hot. That should be all that matters. So I do think that's interesting that we can. I think it's good to have a discussion about, in a film, everyone might assume this character's good looking, but actually it's someone else thinks they're good looking. You know, that type of thing.
Yeah, it would be nicer to see them play on that a bit rather than just being like fat jokes.
It's almost as if they tried normalising the body shaming when that just shouldn't have been done 20 years ago, never mind now. Like, I think that's what kind of brings the film down.
I think 20 years ago, people would have still been like, oh, that left a sour taste in the mouth, especially if you were like overweight and seen the film, and then you're just like, okay.
I think maybe they were like trying to like be really progressive and be like, oh, weight doesn't matter, but they really failed on all counts because A, they tried to make it funny, which is not, and B, they used a like not particularly large actress to call fat. So then that's just like promoting even stranger things. And then also they didn't really do it in a very tasteful way. I don't think they really needed to. It's a Christmas film. We don't need a commentary on weight. Like, it's nice the fact they did a commentary on, like, you know, social class and like everyone being human and like people cheat but things happen and like I liked that. But then the downside is like they didn't need to bring weight jokes into it. Even thinking of it as a child of its time.
I feel like the romantic stories are very focused through the male gaze in some ways. Like, you have Hugh Grant who like flirts with this woman a few times and then goes and pursues her and like knocks on doors to find her. Then you've got Colin Firth who obviously does have a emotional connection, like they do talk to each other, but still, like, there's a scene where she like strips off and like jumps into the lake to save his work or whatever, and it's like very through the male perspective of what they view in love. Like, besides the emotional connection, there's always some kind of like big physical, like with Keira Knightley as well, there's always a big physical like part to it as well, it seems to be, like all the romantic stories.
I actually think with that point about the male gaze, the worst thing in the film, in a way, but biggest waste of opportunity was Laura Linney, who had the ill brother. Because I feel like she could have objectified her co-worker a bit more. I did like she was like someone with a like a 2-year crush. It's like we've all been there. And it's like, I was like, oh, that is good, I like to see that. But at the same time,
it's not just you.
But I totally agree. I feel like if you had, in a way, I feel like Richard Curtis wrote the film to try and reclaim the male gaze and be like, feminists, there's nothing wrong with a man appreciating a beautiful woman. you know, love is love, it's everywhere, it's all around. I think part of the film was to rehabilitate, you know, kind of to see it from both sides. Here's the male point of view, but with the female point of view, I just felt that was so less developed than the male point of view in the film, that it was unbalanced and there should have been female gaze, a female...
I feel like the female point of view is all just like very sad. Like you've got someone who you've been crushing on for a couple of years, but you've got other things going on, so you can't really further that relationship, or you find out your husband's cheating on you and has bought a necklace for another woman. Like the only kind of strong female perspectives you get are all quite like sad in some
Welcome
ways.
to reality of being a woman.
No, but they could have had like a woman who maybe doesn't even who sleeps around and has so much fun and is like a successful career woman, but then she also has like a love story with like her parents, or you know, a platonic love story, and then kind of shown someone enjoying themselves sexually as a woman, because it felt like the men enjoyed their sexuality, the women listened to Joni Mitchell. You know, it was kind of that type of...
Happens to the best of us.
that was an amazing one, and it's based on real life, that too, you know. Like,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, I do think, some stronger female sort of, or like happier female characters. But on a feminist point of view, my least favourite bit of the film wasn't the bits that you don't think about. It was, you know, the lady who'd had like a crush on that guy from work.
Yeah, Laura Linney,
When she went upstairs to tidy her room and she put her teddy bear under the bed, I was like, you do not need to hide your bear from any man. Like, it literally always makes me so sad. I'm like, why? Why are you doing... Also, he was a bit of a dick, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Don't answer the phone. Like, my brother's like having a mental breakdown. Like, and then that never really got developed. I didn't like him at all. I was like, girl, you could do better than him.
I was kind of waiting for him to sort of show up or like sort of be there for her.
I thought, so I thought when she went to the... Obviously, I've seen it many times, and I always think this. When she went to the hospital to whatever the centre to see her brother, he was gonna like turn up and be like, or not turn up,
take her there.
Yeah, or like take her there and be like what you're doing is amazing, or be a supportive role. And again, it just adds to the sad like female lives, because she had to sacrifice love for her brother, when really if he actually really liked her, he would have been like,
if he wanted to,
you go,
the
girl.
brother would have been his brother.
So I think actually one of my least favourite characters, obviously the guy with the cards was a bit weird and annoying, but that was quite overt, was actually the guy from the work. I can't remember his name, the guy from work, which is obviously very attractive. I'm just like, I'm giving you the time of day, you lucky woman. And I was like, oh my god. Like, she's so like caring and supportive.
Laura Linney is a brilliant actress as well.
Yeah, she's great.
And she's not even in this that much, and I felt like Emma Thompson's amazing, but she could have had more like of an Emma Thompson moment in that film as well. Do you know, like grieve into the CD, you know, like the crying. That was amazing, and I feel like Laura Linney's character could have had something about her brother, about her dick of a co-worker, and they could have actually I just felt like as an actress, I just feel like they didn't do her right in that film, you know, like it wasn't that great on the CV.
In a way, and it kind of draws on something that you said, because you said one of the redeeming qualities of the film was that the cast was amazing. Yeah. But I really like the fact, and kind of drawing on that they had a lot of very, very good actors and very famous people, but they didn't, other than the Hugh Grant role, it wasn't really about, like, some films you watch, and even though they're playing characters, you're very aware of their celebrity, and you know who they are, and whereas this, like, Martin Freeman literally forgot he wasn't just a normal guy, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he just plays Martin Freeman.
He was just like, you're right, you know, it was, and like when he kissed, I keep saying Stacey from Gavin and Stacey, on the doorstep, and then he like jumped up, I was like, that's so normal and so cute, and I like the way they kind of made you forget that these are like world-class actors that we've seen in lots of things.
That was probably my favourite storyline, that one.
So in a way I quite like the fact that, what was her name?
Laura Linney.
Yeah, Laura Linney didn't have like a major...
Yeah, no, it is true. I just think that they just had missed out a scene or something in that whole plot with her. As you were saying, there should be an insert in
just for
this,
the story.
just to kind of a conclusion, even if it is just her enjoying her career and her life and just being happy, just be happy, you know.
It's kind of sad that like they christened each other for like 2 years and that's how it ended. Like, surely you just like fight for that love. If you if you
Cheryl Cole.
That's based on real life too, with Richard Curtis's own life. You know, that was part of the Good Morning America interview, and he was saying it's about mental illnesses in his family. So I think that sadly is probably one of the things where he's like, I'm actually going to instead of going to fantasy, I'm going to go to real life. It's just because most of the film had happy endings.
Yeah.
So then it kind of stood out that this was like the plot element that was sad. But and again, it is 2003, but I think it was interesting because it is suggesting, do you know the phone scene? I read it in Laura Linney's In the Wrong, and that she's been a martyr too much with her brother, and that she should actually...
Really?
And that, because her brother was fine. her brother...
Yeah, but if you've ever had to care for
yeah,
someone,
you do, but
it consumes you.
I would have preferred... Isn't this how they kind of ended it with her as well, just like kind of putting the phone down?
No, she went to go visit him.
Yeah, no. I think they should have probably ended it with her being like, no.
I don't think so. I don't think if you're in a caring role, that's always going to be part of your life.
Yeah, no, it is. But
I think it'd be too unrealistic to be like, I'm not going to care for him anymore.
No, I just think it should have been her being like reclaiming some sense of independence from her brother, because her parents are dead, so she has to look after him. But that's still, I think, in real life, I'd say that still doesn't mean, obviously you kind of have a duty to make sure they're looked after at a facility or whatever, but that doesn't actually mean you have to sacrifice your life. Like she was sacrificing her life. I think she just needs to draw a line in the sand, stick a flag in it, and be like, this is my personal life,
Yeah.
You can see that story from both sides though, like, but I miss is where the guy should have maybe like we talked about, should have stepped up and been like, all right, I'm here for you now. I'm gonna be a factor in your life. I'm gonna be like an influence and make sure I'm like take you to the care home or something.
It'd be nice to see her like have a life that also incorporates her brother, rather than being like, bye.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's just
don't
sacrifice
that would be really
your
nice.
life for your brother.
To like bring them together, but
have a compromise.